Let me tell you a story of how a late diagnosed autistic guy with an autistic son built a YouTube community of over 100,000 people. And more importantly, how autism saved my life. Let's go. Welcome, my friend. Great to see you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about helping you raise your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. On this video, I want to share with you my story. The story of how me, a late diagnosed autistic guy, got diagnosed as autistic and created a YouTube channel with a community of over 100,000 amazing people. So let's start at the start. Like many other people, maybe you, I was part of a generation where there just wasn't enough known about autism and the different way it can present, manifest, provide challenges, strengths for different people. As a result, I slipped through the cracks. I was left undiagnosed for my entire childhood, for my teens, for my 20s. But then, lucky me, I found someone who actually liked me for me. And we got married and we had a kid. Oh man. So maybe you're just like me. Maybe your story is the same. Maybe you only realize later in life that you're autistic. But you were born autistic. You can only be born autistic. You can't acquire it or catch it later in life. You were born autistic. You were part of a generation where there just wasn't enough insights. You slipped through the cracks. You went undiagnosed or misdiagnosed for potentially many years through some of the hardest parts of your life. And then, for one reason or another, you found a diagnosis at a point in your life when you never thought something like that could happen to you. But what's my story at this point? Well, after having our first child, it was pretty obvious from the start. I mean, from birth, from taking him home, that he was a different dude. He was absolutely 100% experiencing the world in a different way. Not that you can put a finger on it. And again, even at that point in our lives, there weren't a lot of people around that were saying the stuff that we now know. So it comes down to the classic things, right? Like the way we parent our child. Or don't worry, all babies are like this. Or don't worry, all toddlers are like this. Well, at some point, you're going to have to stop saying that and actually tell us the truth. So it wasn't until our son was around 5 that it got to the enough is enough stage. And we started to really try to zero in on ways that we can help our son in his experience of life, how we can improve his quality of life. Now, the journey is different for everyone. For kids, it starts with things like a GP, a psychologist, occupational therapist, speech pathologist, these types of people. And people start to flag things. And that's when we were recommended an assessment for autism. Our son underwent the assessment. And how does that work? If you are a child, it's all about your parents, your teachers. It's all about the people around you, the people that witness you experiencing the world differently. So the story heats up in the phase of my son's assessment, because there's lots of forms. When you're diagnosing a child, there's lots of forms to fill out. There's lots of ticker boxes. And for some people, these types of forms may seem quite abstract and strange, as in, I can't relate to these. Is this really what this is? And you're filling them out based on your child's experience, and you can see that you're ticking boxes for your child, but for you, it's like, I don't relate to this, I don't get this. But for me at the time, every single point on every single form, every question, every statement, every ticker box, every whatever, I could relate to. Some deeply resonate with. The problem was we weren't filling it out for me, we were filling it out for my son. That was a problem, but also a blessing. Because, as we're doing that, my wife and I are both going, you know what, this is bizarre. Like, this is you. This is you. Having those aha moments. And when you can have those, but your partner can validate them and go, I agree, then it starts to get really complicated. And this is where the story gets complicated. I feel like Rango for a second there. So through the assessment process, a lot of bells were ringing for me. But the focus was on our son. Although as an autistic person undiagnosed, I found it very hard to keep the focus on my son when every time we meet with people and they'd talk about things and share things, I was so deeply resonating with them, it was almost impossible for me to take myself out of that idea of like, I feel like I'm being assessed here. However, our son was assessed and diagnosed as autistic. Now, as a result of this experience, and my constant talking about it, my wife encouraged me to seek an assessment. I've got a book about my experiences. I've got videos and podcasts about my experience, so probably not worth backing over all the stuff you probably already know. Needless to say, after navigating the adult assessment world, which is horrific, and again, I've got advice and insights in podcasts and videos in my book, but in a nutshell, it is horrifically hard to find someone who actually knows what they're talking about in the adult autism diagnosis space. Just because they're a psychiatrist or a physician of some kind or a psychologist doesn't mean they have any idea or any insight or any actual legitimate up-to-date knowledge of autism diagnosis for adults. It's an extremely tricky scenario because the whole assessment period is based on kids and using parents. It's very tricky when you're a grown man or woman. You're an adult whose parents might not be around, might be out of the picture, might not be, encouraged to be a part of it, or might not want to be a part of it. So the scenario of adult diagnosis is something that I can never truly convey to you how hard it is. Meaning, not only is it hard to find people who know what they're talking about, but the idea that there are many people misdiagnosed and never given the diagnosis that is actually evident and then just give up on life. Now, this impacts life expectancy of people around the world. And this is a whole nother conversation. For me, I navigated that horrible world of adult diagnosis. For some, it's really expensive. Others, it's long waiting times. And for others, it's misdiagnosis. Either way, it's a minefield to navigate. And at the other end of that, after going through lots and lots of sessions with someone who I researched and found who actually specialized in the field, I was diagnosed as an autistic person. This happened mere months apart from my son. So my son was 5 and he was diagnosed as an autistic kid, and literally just weeks apart, barely months apart, his dad, me, in my 30s, was diagnosed as an autistic guy. This diagnosis had a profound impact on me. The thing about receiving a diagnosis is it provides you with a sense of clarity. It provides you with a sense of identity, regardless of the diagnosis. It's almost like someone saying, this is you. Just in case you're wondering who you are or what, this is what you are. This is who you are. And I don't think I mean that in a bad way. It actually helps you. Example, sorry, we've just double checked. We've got at the back there and had a quick look. You're actually not a bad person who doesn't deserve friends and is just purposely goes out of their way to offend people and, reject connections. Actually, we've checked and you're not. You're actually autistic. And it's extremely hard for you to understand and navigate these types of situations. So it turns out it actually isn't your fault. You're different. Thanks so much for checking that at the back. That means a lot to me. That's a massive insight into any late diagnosed autistic person. And that was my story. I received a diagnosis because of going through the experience with my son. What if I never got married? What if I never married my wife? What if we never had kids? What would have happened? In my opinion, meeting my wife, having our son, being diagnosed autistic, saved my life. Autism saved my life. Life expectancy for autistic people across the modern world, and we're talking in developed countries, right? First world countries, is anywhere from mid-30s to mid-50s. It's not good. And you have to ask why. So it's not autism that kills you. It's being autistic in a neurotypical world that kills you. And again, it's a byproduct. This isn't a discussion on life expectancy. But what I'm trying to say to bring you to that thought is that but for my diagnosis, my wife herself can say, the mental space I was in, she started to fear for my life. Watching my son go through the assessment process and where I was psychologically after the first portion of my life being so hard, struggling so much, had me in a mental space. Even though I was married with a kid, right? There were still daily challenges that I'd experienced since I was basically a young child that had manifested into a mental space where I didn't really get the point of hanging around anymore. It wasn't, and this is where the life expectancy comes into play. The experience of autistic people in a neurotypical world can manifest in things like mental illnesses, in things like other types of illnesses and conditions. Okay, Ryan, great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. What's this got to do with your story? Well, it is my story. Before I was diagnosed as an autistic person, I was just a dude who felt broken and worthless and useless and had no idea how to navigate pretty much anything in the world I lived in, presuming that was my mistake, my problem, my fault, not knowing that I was literally an alien put on an alien planet, trying to understand their language and their customs, and never understanding them, failing miserably, and then having the opportunity to, as opposed to allow that to continue to the point where I end up as a statistic in a low life expectancy, that I was able to somehow find myself in a situation where my own child and their diagnosis saved my life. And the story gets even more interesting. Once I realized, okay, so this is good. This is good. I'm not bad, not broken. This is good. I'm autistic, but I've got an autistic son. Now, my life so far has been pretty hard, but surely we can try and make it a bit easier for my son. How can we do that? I know what I can do. That's right. I've worked in radio and media for like 200 years. I could just do that. You know what's really big at the moment? Podcasts. And you know what I'm good at? Radio, allegedly. Nevertheless, my radio background has actually taught me the skills I need to create a podcast. I thought, bugger it, I'm going to start a podcast about autism. I don't know what I'm going to do. I honestly have no idea. Maybe the first podcast I'll just talk about my story of being diagnosed. And then we'll go from there. Maybe I can find people. I know what I'll do. I'll find people who know what they're talking about. Because, and this is a big part of everyone's story who's like diagnosed. Once you're diagnosed, you know as much then as you did before. You don't just become anointed. No one comes down and anoints you with the power of autistic knowledge. It takes time, trust me. So, my podcast was something that I thought, this is my way. So let's have a look. Let's consult the time capsule that is my mobile phone. Okay, my first episode of My Friend Autism was published on the 2nd of September, 2019. And it was called Finding My Place on the Spectrum. And then as we progressed, I started to think, okay, I'm going to talk to people. And then something interesting happened. I started to just talk about my own personal experiences and stories. And why is that? Well, in the space of those, which is about 12 months, I started to talk to people from all different walks of life and learn more about not only autism, but me as an autistic person. And what did that do? That gave me a new understanding of myself as an autistic person, which then made me think, this is interesting. This podcast stuff is really cool. But you know what? I'm finding as I get to know autistic people or these kind of guests, that there seems to be a couple of really cool autistic people on YouTube. When I thought of that, YouTube wasn't even really a thing for me. The idea that I would make videos when I had a radio background made very little sense. So of course, that's what I did. In March 2020, I decided I'm going to make YouTube videos. I don't know how to do it. Absolutely no idea. But I'm going to make some YouTube videos. And in March 2020, I released my first YouTube video. Here it is here. Adult diagnosis and regret. Meet Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. Unfortunately, this video is still available to watch. It shouldn't be. It's bloody horrible. But that's part of my story. I thought it's really important to tell autistic stories as an autistic person, not just talk to guests, some who are and who aren't autistic. That's cool, but it's really important just for autistic people to see other autistic people telling their stories, right? Stories they can relate to. This didn't seem like it was very common. In fact, most autism on YouTube at the time, and we're talking early 2020, was done by non-autistic people, in a way almost lecturing or preaching, rather than just relating their own experiences and stories. Now, I don't need to tell you much about this video, apart from, like, seriously, there's a sheet. My backdrop, not sexy lights, my backdrop is like a cream sheet. A sheet, like on a bed. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I shot it on my phone. Because I'm an odd creative kind of dude and I have a radio background, I had some character who was asking the questions and I'd answer them. It was me playing like some old school radio DJ or something. And I don't know what to tell you. All I can say is I apologize. Now, it turns out that when people watch YouTube videos, they just want to watch what you're talking about. So all the other stuff they don't particularly care about. See, my mindset was, I don't particularly care what you particularly care about. I just particularly care about what I particularly care about. And that is particular. And then I started to realize, well, if I'm going to tell stories, I might as well be as open and honest about my specific experiences as I can. And that's where it went from, a couple of people will watch this, to, there you go, a few more people are watching this, when I started talking about things like what I hate about having an autistic diagnosis, what I hate about being autistic in a neurotypical world, or what happened when I went to uni and how badly that ended, or the most important videos I probably ever made in the first year of my channel, which was, what does autism feel like? And the more I did, the more I learned. Talking about masking, suppressing your true self. Again, videos that are your own personal experiences that people can relate to. They're the ones people want to watch. And as I grew through the first year of my YouTube channel, still struggling to get anyone to watch it, I started to realize that this is really fun. And for a while there, I basically deserted my podcast. Video after video, though, the lesson was the same. And it's a story that can help you. The videos that people wanted to watch were about the things that they experienced as autistic people. It was about experiences, feelings, things that go, wow, I'm not alone. You experience that too? I experienced that. Things like I said, masking. The next big one was burnout. The lesson in my story is it may be important from a principle point of view or a philosophical point of view, but if it's not an experience or a feeling or something that's important to others that they can relate to and feel less alone, no one cares. Make no mistake. It took me 3 years to reach 100,000 subscribers. 3 years. In my mind, that was never a goal, and I never would have thought in any realm of possibility that would have happened. But see, what my story can teach is that as I created content about autism to help my son, to make the world nicer to him, it resonated with others. And being resonated with and feeling less alone, less broken, people connect. And then the community starts to grow. Slowly but surely, a beautiful community of autistic people and partners, parents, friends of autistic people started to join. And we started to connect. And we started to tell more stories. And then, my friends, unfortunately, I hit one hell of a massive brick wall called love on the spectrum. Damn you, love on the spectrum and your questionable practices. You know what? I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm over it. I mean, I'll never fully be over it, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. Then a video on meltdowns. Hang on a second. You're not a kid. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm an autistic adult. And we have things called meltdowns and shutdowns from doing things like masking, which leads to things like burnout. Pretty much the whole experience of being an autistic person. And then guess what? It wasn't just parents of kids late diagnosed autistic adults or undiagnosed autistic adults started to connect and watch and resonate. And honestly, probably my favorite part of this whole journey in building a community slowly but surely is the people you meet in this community and how we can all just hang out on live streams and chat. And you know what my favorite parts is? It's actually meeting other autistic YouTubers. And I met some amazing autistic YouTubers in the first couple of years of my channel. Claire from the Woodshed Theory. Claire's an incredible autistic woman with a great channel. You should definitely check it out. It's amazing. Taylor from Mum on the Spectrum. Again, an insight that I can't provide because I'm not a mum. I'm a dad. Her channel, incredible. Collaborating with Claire and Tay. Olivia Hops, meeting Olivia. That was amazing. Collaborating with her. Yo Samdy Sam, meeting and collaborating with her. So many amazing autistic content creators. I'm probably missing some out here, but just getting to collaborate with amazing people is one of my favorite parts of YouTube. Turns out though, and this is a big part of my story, turns out though, it's not so much a favorite part of your story. From what I've learned, and this could just be me, maybe it's just I'm boring, from what I've learned is if I do a collaboration video with pretty much anyone on pretty much anything, you don't give a crap. The stats don't lie, my friends. The stats don't lie. See, this is the stuff that I can't do. This is only you guys, only the community of this amazing YouTube community can make this happen. Like I can make any video I want, and I do. But unless it resonates with you, unless you like it, unless you feel it, and you watch it, no one else is going to see it. And then no one else is going to increase their level of understanding or appreciation of autistic people. It started to become quite apparent to me as well that although my goal has always been to improve the life of my autistic son through sharing my experiences, that in fact, what I'm here to do in achieving that goal is to reach people just like me, late diagnosed autistic people, undiagnosed autistic adults. And so my journey of showing in a raw, real, sometimes unedited, unfiltered, unmasked, unscripted video sense became the norm for my channel. And here we are. Some dude, some undiagnosed dude was diagnosed as autistic later in life because of an experience in their family. That diagnosis saved their life to the point where they were able to actually share their story with others. And then I find you, and thank God for you. Can you believe that in the space of a few years, we've formed a community of over 100,000 people? I've got a book out. How is it? That doesn't even make any sense to me. It blows my mind. A podcast, a YouTube channel. I mean, seriously. I know I've already said it, but I'm a big deal. I'm not. It's not true. This is in no way my community or my channel. This is our channel, our community. You are key to us changing the world, to improving the quality of lives of autistic people. And there's nothing more I can do to thank you, apart from stop talking and ending this video probably. Let's use this as an opportunity for you in the comments right now to tell me exactly what you love about the videos, what you don't like, and what you want to see more of. I'm so happy and so grateful to have you as part of this amazing community. You know what? Our story has only just begun, my friend. Let's change the world together. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel and getting us to over 100,000 amazing people. Until my next video, thank you so much for your support. We'll talk soon.